So you've got a story idea. What now? How do you actually get started with writing it? What are the steps? I'm Kieran, I'm a writer and a freelance editor, and I'm going to walk you through exactly that in this video and give you a process you can use time and time again to get a story off the ground. That way, it won't just keep buzzing around in your brain while you're trying to sleep at night. That's what happens to me anyway. As with a lot of writing, it's all about jumping in and learning and developing skills that can support your creativity, and that's why I've partnered with Skillshare for this video. More on that shortly. This video will be a set of guided exercises of just a few minutes each that I'll complete in real time along with you. All you have to do is let the video play, and all you need to have is a pen and paper or some writing software of some kind. It doesn't matter which. And of course, you'll need your story idea, whether that's just a spark of story or a raging inferno in your brain. The first exercise we're going to complete is to convert our idea from a set of abstract concepts and snapshots, whatever we have in our mind at the moment, to a tangible thing that lives somewhere other than just in our brain. We're going to take everything that we know about our idea out of our head and put it onto the page. That might seem like something of an obvious thing to do, but you'd be surprised just how many details might be whirling and turning and cycling in your mind. Jotting them all down can solidify them and preserve them, and it can sometimes give you a roadmap for your oncoming story. So, if that idea came to you in the form of a scene in your mind, a character's name, an overheard exchange of dialogue, or just a flash of colour, we're going to get as much of that out and onto the page as we can. If that ends up being one sentence or a full page of notes, either way, that's okay. Lean into the uncertainty. Creativity lives in uncertainty. Before we start the first exercise, take a moment now to get a blank document ready or to make sure there's ink in your pen and you've got a blank page in your notebook. In a moment, I'll switch my screen over too so you can see my notes on my idea if you want to. There's no need to pause, keep the video running. I'll start a 3-minute timer for us. You'll hear some beeps to mark the start. All you need to do then is concentrate on noting down everything you know about your idea. Pull on all the threads that you find, open up all the cupboards and look under all the rugs in your mind and write out whatever comes to you. There's no wrong way to do this, and it does not have to be neat and tidy and ordered, unless you want it to be. Once those 3 minutes are up, you'll hear those beeps again, and then we'll carry on from there. Okay, let's get some thoughts down. See you in 3 minutes. Okay, so that's 3 minutes. That's the first exercise done. By the way, if you're still making notes and you've still got stuff to get down, feel free to pause here and finish. It's not a test of speed. So, how did it go? Chances are you probably found there was a bit more to your idea than you thought, or maybe you discovered something new about it just from spending that time thinking about it in isolation. I'll put my notes up on the screen now so you can see the sort of thing that I got down. As you can see, it's a bit fragmented, but it definitely helped me solidify my idea. Instead of trying to hold all of these ideas in one hand and then somehow write the story with the other, getting it all down on paper makes starting the story much more accessible and makes the process of learning much easier to manage. With that in mind, I'm so excited to partner with Skillshare on this video. Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can take classes from world-class professionals and creatives in a ton of different fields and subjects. I've been taking Saba Tahir's class on building believable characters in fiction recently, and it was just what I needed to help me further define the main character in my work in progress. I loved her focus on making things authentic. As you know, if you watch my channel, that's a big thing for me. The class was really clear and well presented, and she gives you some guided exercises to expand your idea of who your characters are. She has an interesting exercise actually where, to help you get to know your character, she suggests you interview them and kind of embody them, which I thought was really creative. I'd never have thought of doing that, but it definitely helped me figure things out about my character that I don't know if I'd have discovered from just observing them on the outside. There's loads of useful classes on Skillshare on the subject of writing, of course, plus other skills that can support your writing journey, like self-publishing, author marketing, book cover design, and even stuff like video editing. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. That focus on character is perfect for where we're going next, so let's keep it in mind for a moment. We've made some notes about our story so far, and in doing so, we've solidified the foundation beneath our feet. Now we can start to build on that with, you guessed it, character. It's pretty likely, I'd say, that somewhere within the notes you just wrote, you probably mentioned a person. And if you didn't, well, someone has to experience your story and be present for the events that you might have planned. So it's time to figure them out. Perhaps you don't know their name yet, or who they are, or maybe you do. Either way, let's meet our character properly in the next exercise. I say this a lot in my videos, as did Saba Tahir actually in the class that I took, but I think characters are the most important part of any story. They give the reader someone to empathise with, someone to question or root for, or even to fear. I think every story is a reflection on who we are as humans, and your character will be no exception to that, so it's worth listening to them just for a moment. Let's take some time to do that now in another 3-minute exercise. This time, we're going to start out by writing what we already know about our character, and then we're going to follow that and add to it and discover a bit more about who that character is. Who's your story about? Who's narrating it? What do they want? What are they afraid of? Settling into a character's voice is always challenging, I think, but it all starts from answering some of those questions and more and discovering a bit more about them. So feel free to indulge your creativity here. If you want to interview your character and write their responses, do that. If you want to write a timeline of their life, go for that. If you want to focus on where the story finds them and what they're doing, follow that. You could even sketch them if you can draw. Again, I'll start the timer shortly and we'll hear it again when the time's up. Remember, it's not a race. The goal here is to settle into thinking about our character. If you find yourself running short on details here, take something that you know about your character and ask yourself why that is, and keep asking why. I always find that makes things unravel a little bit more easily. Why is your character the way they are? Why are they in this room? Why have they got to make this choice right now? There are no wrong details to put down, remember that. Okay, let's get started. I'll see you in 3 minutes. Okay, that's 3 minutes working on a character. Again, feel free to pause if you need to finish. What did you find out about them? Again, I bet there was more than you initially thought. Here's what I managed to get down. Mine went a bit more conceptual than details about the actual character. I went into how they feel quite a lot, which I think is useful for the way I write. Alright, so we're making good progress. We've broadened our idea of the story and we've narrowed down who it's going to be about. We've made notes on our story, but this video is all about starting it. So it's time to get some real words on the page. That's exactly where we're going next. We're going to take what we've learned and use it to write our first line. Writing is a process of building and layering, starting with the bare bones, the most basic, disorganized mess, and then filling in the gaps, building it a bit higher and then higher still. While there are no secrets to writing fiction, I think that it being a building process is as close to a secret as it gets. It's piece by piece, version by version. Writing is not a live performance. We don't have to nail it on the first try, and it's often essential to take a first attempt and rework and revise it until it's better. Perfection rarely happens on the first try, or at all, and nor does it need to. That definitely applies to writing our story's opening line, which is handy because that's often the most intimidating part of starting a story. So in this exercise, we're not going to write a first line. We're actually going to write 3. The first one will be whatever we can get down, whatever comes to us first, our most basic Hail Mary attempt. Less thinking, more writing. Then we'll draft it again, make changes to fix what we don't like, and get it a bit closer before we write a third version that's the best of all 3, hopefully. And it still won't be perfect, but writing very rarely is. It's much more important to get past perfectionism and to get a story moving. We cannot read a perfect story in someone's head, but we can read an excellent one that's finished and on the page. To help with that exercise, keep the notes that you've made so far to hand. There should be a fair bit there to help you come up with a concept for the first line. What plot points might you have mentioned? How and where might those begin? Who is your character and where does the story first find them? Where's your story set? What's striking or notable about that setting? In a moment, I'll start the timer again, but this time for 5 minutes rather than 3. My top tip here is don't overthink that first version. Allow your creativity to come through unimpeded, and remember, neither your first, second, or third line has to be good yet. All it has to do is to get the story started. And as we now know, writing is all about versions. A version 1 that you don't like all that much allows there to be a version 5 or a version 10 that you love. Alright, get ready for the final exercise. Don't put too much pressure on yourself and have fun. I'll be back after the 5 minutes have elapsed. Okay, that's 5 minutes, but if you need a little more time, feel free to pause. How did you find it? Did you manage to write 3 lines, or did you manage to write a line and then improve upon that? To celebrate getting started, and if you're brave enough, why not share it in the comments as a final challenge? Here are my 3 lines. I started off really simple, and I'm still not thoroughly happy with my last line. It's not perfect, but of course it doesn't need to be. It just needs to get the overall vibe, and I got pretty close to what I wanted with that one, so we'll call that okay. And if, like me, you feel a bit underwhelmed by what you've written, try not to fret. Getting a story moving and taking it from a bundle of disorganized ideas in your mind and onto the page can be the hardest part of writing it. And that's exactly what we've now done. So keep the momentum that you've got, take your 3rd line and keep writing. Check out some of my other writing exercises in the playlist on screen if you want to keep up that momentum. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy writing.